All right, so that's a gratitude practice. What is next? Talk to me about connecting with nature. And again, I've found myself just drawn to the heath, and now I actually can't go a week without spending at least a couple hours. I turn all my media devices off. I jump in the lake now, in the men's pond, even when it's cold. Again, I feel like I need to be there. And sometimes I have some kind of a weird spiritual experience there. I don't know what it is, Rupert. I'm looking at those trees, especially the place where I met you up there, kind of on that high, hilly northern side. And something's happening here. Now, maybe that's a plant connection and we're getting ahead of ourselves, but what is this nature connection?
I think partly it goes back to a deep ancestral thing. Our ancestors were hunter-gatherers. They lived outdoors practically all the time. And in order to survive as hunter-gatherers, they had to understand animals and plants. They had to know about plants, to recognize them, to know when they were fruiting, where they could find food. They had to know what animals did, what their habits were, how to hunt them. It's very, very deep in our nature. And I think when people, then there was farming and people became farmers, and all farming's about animals and plants too, domesticated animals and domesticated plants, but working outdoors. So it's actually very recent. It's only since the Industrial Revolution that most people have lived in towns and cities and work indoors. And, you know, it's only in the last 50 or 60 years that we've reached this highly urbanized indoor working thing. And one result has been an explosion of obesity. I mean, lots of people used to work in agriculture before the Second World War. Now it's only about 3% of the population. And in many countries like India, still hundreds of millions are working in agriculture. So this is part of our nature. In fact, when you stop doing that, you lose something, this connection with the greater world of biology and life. And the fact is, most people feel the lack of the connection and they make up for it. The commonest hobby in Britain is gardening. And so I think that through gardening, people still retain that connection with plants. And through keeping pets. No one has to keep dogs because they have to have a guard dog, or to round up sheep or something. The vast majority of pets are kept as a kind of luxury. They're not necessary. They're not utilitarian like farm animals are.
But none of this can be explained scientifically.
Well, it can be explained scientifically in the sense that people who keep pets or do gardening, you know, have lower blood pressure, tend to recover better from diseases and heart attacks and things. These have great benefits. But the practice is, one of the practices I suggest in my book as a simple nature practice is to find a sit spot somewhere outdoors that you can sit for about 20 minutes. It's a bit like meditation, except in meditation you're withdrawing from the world, you're closing your eyes usually and not trying to pay attention to what's happening outside you. In the sit spot, you have a place that's familiar where you feel safe and secure. It could be in your garden, it could be on a rooftop, it could be a spot on Hampstead Heath or in a wood or something. The idea is to have it near home so it's easy to go there on a regular basis. And then just to spend ideally 20 minutes a day sitting there and listening to the birds and noticing how the trees are, you know, if they're in blossom, when the leaves are coming out. Now the leaves are falling off the trees. Looking, observing and tuning into the seasons. And if it's in the same place and if you're sitting, you get to know it well and you get to see the changes and to become familiar with it. And that place gets familiar with you in the sense that the animals there get used to you. By the time you've been sitting quietly for about 10, 15 minutes, birds and other animals stop paying much attention to you. They just get used to you. Then you can tune into them. And if you're sitting in a wood, for example, you'll hear the alarm calls of blackbirds and you get to know there's something happening, there's somebody coming and they're warning other forms of life in the wood. Or there's a cat moving through the garden, the blackbirds all give warning sounds. So you can actually tune in to what's happening and what the animals are telling each other and you, if you have ears to listen to it.
Right. Continue watching this fascinating conversation for free by clicking on the link below to visit our website, learn from the best minds in the world, and connect with a community of passionate people building the best versions of themselves. Just click on the link below, and I'll see you on the inside.